Long before he directed the creation of the atomic bomb, J. Robert Oppenheimer may have attempted to poison his own university professor. The story begins in the mid-1920s. A young Oppenheimer arrived at Cambridge University, expecting to find an intellectual sanctuary where his reputation as a Harvard standout would only grow. Instead, he was assigned to experimental laboratory physics. Surrounded by glass vacuum tubes, manual pumps, and meticulous wiring, he proved disastrously incompetent at the physical demands of the bench. Outside the lab, he found no relief. Coming from a world of Manhattan wealth, Oppenheimer felt like a socially awkward exile among the university's established British blue bloods. This sustained failure at his work, coupled with profound isolation, left his brilliant mind unmoored. The academic hero he had been at Harvard no longer existed. The foil to his misery was his assigned tutor, Patrick Blackett. Blackett possessed everything Oppenheimer lacked. He was a highly successful experimentalist, movie star handsome, and perfectly integrated into the rigid tiers of British class society. Blackett's effortless success fed Oppenheimer's growing feelings of inadequacy. What began as academic frustration steadily hardened into bitter envy. Within the confines of the laboratory, the daily friction between the failing student and the flawless professor became a constant pressure. Blackett became the physical embodiment of everything Oppenheimer could not be, pushing the student toward a psychological breaking point. The tension finally snapped. In the midst of a severe mental crisis, Oppenheimer abruptly fled Cambridge. He sought out his friends and delivered a terrifying confession. He had left a poisoned apple on Patrick Blackett's desk. Rumors quickly circulated that the apple was laced with cyanide. For his circle of friends, the confession triggered immediate panic. An attempted murder charge on a prestigious campus carried the threat of a long prison sentence. To save him, Oppenheimer's wealthy parents and Cambridge authorities intervened, working quickly to suppress the legal fallout. Oppenheimer avoided criminal charges, but the university's leniency came with a strict condition: mandatory psychiatric treatment. The university's demand for a psychiatrist suggests they viewed his state of mind as a liability equal to any legal threat. Regardless of what physical object sat on the desk, those around him treated his break as a genuine danger. Stepping back from the immediate panic, we are left with a central question. Did Patrick Blackett actually find a poisoned apple? Historians disagree on the answer, because there is no definitive physical proof of the poison in any university record. 3 possibilities remain. The poison was a lethal reality, it was a desperate but harmless cry for help, or the poison was entirely metaphorical. Patrick Blackett ultimately suffered no physical harm. The true nature of the apple remains locked in the past. This lack of proof leaves a chilling uncertainty about what the young scientist was capable of committing in his darkest moments. Oppenheimer survived the crisis. He left England and relocated to the European continent to begin again. Here, he made a decisive academic shift. He abandoned the tactile world of experimental physics for the abstract field of theoretical quantum mechanics. This field suited his quick-witted, intellectually ambidextrous mind. Free from the physical constraints of the laboratory, his genius finally surfaced. Alongside this academic shift, he crafted a new identity. He shed the failing student persona to emerge as the confident figure known as Oppie. The failure of his laboratory career at Cambridge forced him to rebuild his entire approach to science from the ground up. Years later, that rebuilt identity led him to the high desert of New Mexico as scientific director of the Manhattan Project. He was tasked by the government with a terrifying responsibility: to build a weapon capable of global annihilation. Long before he faced the moral weight of the atomic bomb, he had already confronted his own capacity for destruction. The literal truth of the poisoned apple may remain a mystery, but the troubled young man behind the story was real. He would live out his days wrestling with his dual nature, both a creator of profound science and a harbinger of death. His struggle with these opposing forces was fully formed in Cambridge long before he reached the high desert of New Mexico.